What's up, guys? I'm Mr. Audio, and if you're new to the channel, welcome. So getting your track loud is all about having a consistent waveform. The more your transients are sticking out of the waveform, the harder it's going to be to drive your audio into the clipper, limiter, or compressor without causing unwanted artifacts such as distortion when trying to master your tracks. And this is basically a visual thing. You can see right away the transients that are probably going to cause problems. Like I have in this example of a track that I'm going to show you that just wasn't mastering that high. It was mastering it at like negative 12 point something LEFS, which by industry standard is kind of commercially acceptable, but not by my standards. I like to hit a little bit higher, especially for a rock track. I like that grit and that aggressiveness. Anyway, a lot of these problem transients of mine were asymmetrical, and some of them were only happening on one side, such as the left ear or the right ear. Now, I've done a video on asymmetric waveforms and how to fix them with the phase rotation tool in RX, but I didn't really have a real-world use case scenario for it at the time. I just mentioned that you could possibly gain headroom if that's what you were after. Now, I have a real-world use case scenario, hence the video. So let's get into it. Let me show you what transients I'm talking about, and let me show you how I fix them. And again, you're probably going to want to listen to every transient you fix to make sure you're not causing any issues and making the sound overall different. Let's check it out. So as you can see here, there's a few transients that are just sticking out a bit too far to drive the audio into the clipper, limiter, or compressor when trying to master your tracks. These might cause distortion if you try to drive your audio too hard. So if you're like me, you have your sample editing program in Ableton set to RX, so that when you hit this little edit button down here, down in the clip view, it brings up RX. And as you can see, the problems become a bit more prevalent here. Like this ear. This transient's just wildly out of control and higher than everything else. And then this one over here on the negative side of the waveform. By negative, I just mean it's below the center line in that ear. So now let me show you how I fix these problems, or potential problems. So I zoom in really far enough that I can see everything that's below the center line, and that could potentially be a problem. Just that peak, if you will. Then I get my phase tool out and I suggest it. I fix both ears at the same time so that the peak in both ears travel together. As you can see, it kind of split the peak and kind of made it fold down. Let's zoom out and see what it looks like now. Notice that transient's now tucked in there with the rest of them. Let's undo it. And now let's see what it sounds like before we fix it. As you can see, it's a kick drum sound right there. Let's redo that. Hit Command-Shift-Z to redo. And now let's listen from further back and see if this kick drum is a problem. Sounds pretty identical to me. Now let me show you why I fix both speakers at the same time, even if the problem's only in one. Let's go to that left speaker problem that's really high on the positive side that I showed in the beginning. So this is only happening on the left side. There's still a peak on the right side, but it's like organized differently, so the speaker moves slightly different. As you can see here, like I said, I would select everything that's a problem on both ears. Now, let's fix both of them first to see what happens. Notice how this peak right here travels with this peak. Both of those peaks travel the same. Now watch what happens if I just fix the left side. This peak travels, while this peak didn't. But now look, we're creating a cancellation. Now whether that cancellation is a problem is really up to you. Let's zoom out and listen to it. So here's before he fixed it. Sounds like either a kick drum or a tom hit. Now let's say Command-Shift-Z it and say we fixed it. And I can't tell the difference, not even in the slightest. That's why I've developed a theory that all the phase rotation is doing is tell the speaker to produce the same sound by moving slightly different. Like if it moves really far forward, maybe that tells the speaker to move backwards a little bit before moving that far forward. You see what I'm saying? Like there are ways that the computer can tell a speaker to move to produce that same sound. Now, once you're done with your track and fixing all of the areas that you think might cause issues and making the waveform look more condensed and more even without causing any new problems, your waveform should look something like this. Now we have a much more consistent waveform that I'd feel more comfortable driving into a clipper, limiter, or compressor. And to be honest, I use a combination of all three of those. Now, once you get it back in your DAW, it should look something like this. And I would feel a lot more comfortable driving this into a clipper, then compressing it, and then limiting it after that. So anyway, I hope this trick helps you get your tracks a bit louder, maybe gain some more headroom, and hope you learned something. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Mr. Audio, out.